Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast.
Hey. It's Michael here, Oilers Live, with another edition, the Drive Home Oilers Live, 5 p.m. Wednesdays, which will be our regular slot when there's not a hockey game overlapping. Got as my trusty co-host, Mr. Dash in the Park, and somewhat blurry, but a really good-looking guy when he's in focus, Mr. Kirk Morris, writer for Heavy Hockey Network. And our live show is also on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. I always like to say special thanks to Dustin Nielsen, Matt Iwanek, Tom Gazzola, Lieutenant Eric, and the rest of the crew there at Edmonton Sports Talk. And of course, if you want to interact with us, you can go to youtube.com/heavyhockey. That's where you'll find us. We are finally there. Game day. About 10 years ago, the Oilers played last. And now we have a game tonight. I'm excited versus Carolina Hurricanes, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Oilers looking to continue the hot streak. Just before we got on air, Dash and I were continuing the hot streak as well, with a few more discussions. A little overlap from last episode where we got into it about goaltending and all that other stuff. Who knows what we'll talk about tonight, but happy to have Kirk on the air today. How you doing, Kirk?
I'm doing great, fellas. How are you?
Good. Is this your first time on Edmonton Sports Talk?
Yes, sir. This is my trial run, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Nice.
Long time coming. Should have been here. Happy to have you because you can maybe referee and bring a little bit of logic to this bloody conversation.
I better grab my
about
popcorn
50% logic
eh?
last week for anybody that missed the show.
Grab the pop.
I thought we were going to get along tonight, but as Michael said it, here we are bickering at each other and fighting before you can go live. So yeah, welcome to the unofficial pre-game show.
Yeah, pre-game,
guys, or at least one of you.
Moving up. Like I said, it's like the late show, just a lot earlier. Now.
It's the early show.
The early show. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's going to be exciting tonight. I mean, we're Oilers fans, and there's always seems to be news. You get a 5-6 day break like this, and you kind of think, hey, they're on a roll. Things are going to go all right. And then bam, out of nowhere, it's Kenny Holland's making headline news. Where take it for what you will, but I didn't think we'd see Holland's name again until he sort of
was waving to us from his boat in Florida.
Exactly.
Sailing off to the sunset.
Like I was a little bit surprised to even see his name end up anywhere. Who wants to start? I mean, maybe Dash, give us the rundown of what you know and what you've heard, and let's talk about this.
I mean, is Holland not just really a puppet at this point in time? Look, they needed a response on what happened with Broberg after his agent, Darren Ferris, put the message out there that they had agreed upon a trade, or agreed upon being able to go out and seek a trade, I should say. I don't know. I don't know anything. I've met Broberg before. He's not your typical Swede. Like he's a little bit of a edgy guy, and I think Tommy Gazzola kind of alluded to that today earlier as well. And if he's not happy, he's not happy. I don't see a situation where this benefits the team to leak the news. Really, you're just lowering your trade value if you're showing other GMs out there in the league that you're desperate to trade him, or that he needs to be traded, or that he wants to be traded, or he's asking to be traded, or this bloody agent wants him traded. Whatever's happening, right? So I believe Kenny Holland, but Kenny Holland probably called his cohorts around the boardroom table and said, "Hey boys, what should I say here?"
The first time I heard it was Saravalli, though. Right? Like that's where we heard the information.
Saravalli caught it. Yeah. The agent side of it, right? That he had heard that, right? That Darren Ferris has been granted permission to go and seek a trade, which Rashog mentioned, he wasn't going after trying to make Frank wrong. He just, had just wanted to make sure that he had the both sides of the story covered. And,
Yeah.
I don't think Rashog went in there thinking he was going to get a blunt, no, we haven't done anything at all. But then like Tommy kind of substantiated that earlier on Oilers Live when he said that the people he reached out to in Oilers operations quantified the exact same thing. Like, what? No, we had no idea this was coming. So if that many people in operations with the Oilers didn't know that this was coming, I believe that because it doesn't benefit them to do it. So, in my estimation, and I don't know anything, but my gut would tell me that the agent is trying to put the Oilers' feet to the fire. And quite honestly, it worked. Right? Because there's 2 days, that's all anybody's been talking about is now who's Broberg gonna get traded to and for who, and so, I don't know, what do you think, Kirk?
Well, just recency bias kicks in. You got to take a look back in the rearview mirror. And same thing happened, kind of, sort of, with Jesse Puljujärvi, did not with his agent Marcus Leto. He kind of, gave the organization kind of a drop dead date, is saying, "Hey, you don't play my guy, we'd like a trade." So, and from what I've heard here, like from all over the place, this is nothing new. Generally, if the player's is upset and he's not getting played, you got to phone the complaint department, and it's generally your agent. So, is it a shocker? No, but you gotta kind of pay the piper at some time there and get some playing time, and then kind of back up your word if you're not performing well, in which he wasn't. I think the last time he really played well was versus Nashville right at the start of the season, and then just one gaffe there against I do believe it was the next game versus Philadelphia, and he kind of was put in the sin bin ever since. He really hasn't been playing all that much.
Mhm.
So I can understand his frustration.
Why do you call a guy up to scratch him 10 out of 12 games?
Yeah, and I was going to
8
get
out
to
of
that,
10 or
like,
whatever the hell it's been. Like, that's
Well, they gotta have
development
somebody,
at its
though.
finest, is it not? Like,
They got to have somebody there, right? Like they can't,
call
and
up
it might as well
Leaston.
be Broberg, but
But why would you sacrifice Broberg's development just to have somebody that makes 860 up on the lineup? Like, then let Gleason eat popcorn.
yeah,
well,
Ultimately,
could be
Exactly.
Ferris's fault for that too, though,
Yeah.
right? Like an
Hey,
agent
I gotta
saying he's got to be up on a
does
big team. I
Broberg
mean,
make
he's
an AHL salary when he's down there? Serious
Yes.
question.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, maybe that's what it is then, right?
Yeah.
They were like,
He
"Okay,
wants to
look,
get
sorry,
paid.
you're not gonna play, but at least you're making
Yeah.
bank."
I mean, Broberg's got to take the bull by the horns too, right? Like he's he's not
gotta
at
back up
fault.
his
He's
word,
not
yeah.
the only one that he is at fault here is just as well, right? Like I haven't. There's not been a time where he's been in the lineup and he's made some play where you looked at him and said, "This is the guy we've been waiting for." Now, granted, he hasn't had a lot of playing time, but still, guys show up when they got opportunity. That's professional sports. I mean, if you're lucky enough to play 79 games in the NHL, you're pretty good to get there. So I'm not going to say he's awful, but he certainly hasn't been great when he's been in the lineup. Now, the other thing with Saravalli reported, I remember actually it was Kevin Weeks was the first time I saw it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it was in the group chat. We always talk about the group chat. Kevin
World
Weeks comes
famous.
out, right? And here's the thing is whether the Oilers gave Ferris permission to shop Broberg, who else are the Oilers going to shop? Like I saw that tweet and I didn't think anything of it. I thought, all right, well, big deal. Like,
theoretically, you could shop CC, you could shop Kulak.
I was going to say shop Kulak. Like, that's.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying theoretically.
Yeah.
For number 5 defenseman there, you
Broberg
gotta.
seemed to make the most sense, right? Like, did he not? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is maybe it might have been a Ferris situation where he did in fact lie about it, but he already knew the Oilers were maybe shopping Broberg. and then decided to stir the pot a little bit, right?
But why? Like, why you're
Help
devaluating
it.
the?
No, help it out, right?
Yeah,
Help
I
it out.
guess, yeah.
Push, maybe get some calls, right?
Yeah.
You have guys call him, right? I mean, agents do a number of different things. They're looking after. He's looking after his guy. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you think's going to work, right? Anyway, I mean, Holland. I guess the real question for me is it Holland that makes the decision anymore? I mean, I don't think it is. So, his response would be, I didn't grant him permission, but somebody else might have. Right? Like, he's
that
not
crossed
lying.
my mind when
He's not
the
lying.
wording was what it was. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't, not the team didn't, or we didn't, So but again, I just go back to that in my head. But like, how much sense does that make for the club? All you're doing is lowering his trade value, and
Yep.
I don't see how that helps the situation.
Yeah, I mean,
tell me out there with listeners, if I'm the tens and tens of people.
what kind of
listening.
trade value did he have anyway?
Well,
Sweetener, pretty much at this point.
That was it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
Well
I
said.
don't
Yeah,
know that
that's-
you
yeah.
could lower it
Yeah.
any. I just think
Right.
it's
we could have left him in the AHL for the last 12 games, playing 25 minutes a night and getting a point a game.
If the Oilers were really serious about trading him, don't you think they'd be a showcase showdown and say, "Hey, here's our guy.
Yeah, dude.
Here you go." Not just speculation and.
Well,
and
we
rumors.
can't. We can't showcase him. We're not in a position to showcase anybody right now. We got,
Pretty much.
maybe, if this
Might have to do it with Campbell. Let's not get there
15
yet.
games,
Though. Yeah.
there you go.
No, you're right. I mean, you're winning. You know what? Here's the question. Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you, Michael, first, based on our fight
Oh, boy.
last.
Hey, all
whatever the hell
right,
you
let
wanna
me.
call it.
Somebody got a bell?
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, Michael first. Do you think our best chance to win a Stanley Cup is to push the chips in the middle this year and keep doing what we're doing in must win? Or do you think that we got a better chance next year with a bit of a cap raise and a bit of a retool to go after it then?
Now, I
Sure,
couldn't
the
answer
dream
that question
win
right
in a
now.
row.
Today, I couldn't answer it right now because we
That's
got
a fair
to be
consider, eh,
close to
Kirk?
we got to be closer to the deadline and understand if the current version of the Oilers that we're seeing
Okay, that's
over
fair.
the last few games is for real. Like, is this the same? Like, this could very well be the same team from last year that had a crap stretch and then had a brilliant stretch. But I mean, nobody wants to see that, right? Like, we'd rather it was.
This homestand will tell us a lot.
Yeah, the homestand tells us everything. So I couldn't answer that. If at the deadline.
Well, if the
we're
homestand
close.
tells us everything, why do you wait
Yeah.
until the trade deadline, Michael?
Okay,
You
well,
just
after
contradicted
the
yourself
homestand.
again.
No, but the homestand's not over yet. We're 6 games. So I
Right, but
can't
you said
tell
we're
you.
going to have to wait till the trade deadline to.
Yeah, well, either or. We gotta see some Oiler hockey before
Okay.
I decide.
All right.
Yeah,
Fair.
I mean, this is not.
But I think it has to be before the trade deadline. I really think we got to see what comes out here, see if this is the team to win it this year. But I kind of want to hear Kirk's opinion too. Would you rather, if you had $500,000 left in your bank account, and the only thing you were allowed to do with it was make an Oilers bet on the Stanley Cup, would it be this year or next year?
I'm a safe betting guy. I'm not, giant risk taker, but at this juncture right now, I would say no. I'm along the lines of Michael. I would say see what you got. Have a drop dead date like the first week in January, because you don't want to trade for a goaltender at the trade deadline. Naturally, if you trade for a goaltender at the deadline, there's not much runway left. We've kind of proved that with Dwayne Rolson in the past, if you want to look back.
We could retool in the offseason with a new goalie, though. That's the
And
thing, right?
I was going to say, furthermore, next year, you're kind of handcuffed anyways because of Connor Brown's bonus. So you're probably going to wind up trading guys anyways. So I would say retool, see what you got. And who knows? And furthermore, Jack Campbell might, and I'm stressing the might. he might
Might
bounce
bring it around.
back. You have to give him one more go. You have to, but you have to give him.
Oh,
a
no
certain
doubt,
runway
Kirk.
too.
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
You have to.
He
You
was
can't
worth
give him
less
just one
than nothing
game.
right
Say,
now.
hey, it's this game or you're gone. You have to give him a little bit of runway.
I think if they can trade him now and there's an opportunity, I'm sure they take it. But ultimately, yeah, I think you have to bring him back up to try and you can't lessen his value. You can't
Yeah.
lessen his trade value. So throw him in there. Maybe as the Oilers are on this homestand or whatever, and they win 6 out of 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7 or whatever there is, then
Yeah, you
Pound is
play him
looking
against the
okay.
right. You play him against the right teams, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
he's at some point they, I at first I would have, I had thought, maybe they don't take him depending on how he goes. Maybe they find some way to get him out of the system. Who knows? But I mean,
Yeah, and
now you got to get him in, and you
For
find.
goaltending, we have to trade Jack Campbell.
Yeah, but you got to find a place, and
Right.
and then
Yeah.
the other side of this is maybe you hope that the way the Oilers are playing now that he can do what he did last year, right, and fulfill a backup role and come in to give Skinner a break,
Yeah.
and maybe if all this rides on who are the Oilers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Because I think if you're trying to win the cup next year, you're crazy to trade Broberg.
But really,
Yeah.
How so?
Because I think if you want to, because if we trade Broberg and we don't get one back, who's our 7th best defenseman?
Gleason at this point,
yeah,
or
Gleason.
Dineen.
Well, that's
Like
what you
left
need in
side,
the playoffs
left
when you're
shot
winning a
D
cup,
man.
hey, boys?
Well, it's left shot D man. Yeah, you're looking at
We
Gleason
need
and Dineen, and on the right side you would see on the right side it would be Phil Kemp.
Right.
So
And that's
your
that's
options
scary.
are pretty limited.
That's scary for a playoff run, right? If you're going 4 rounds in the playoffs where you need 8D. So right now, I think Broberg is the only kind of defenseman with a high enough ceiling that we can play and throw in there. And we failed on the Ekholm Broberg experience to start the year. It doesn't
Well,
mean that can't
the
come
question
around.
is what you think Broberg's ceiling is. Like, do you think
I think it's better than Gleason's
do you?
or Kemp's.
I mean, I'm not convinced anymore. I mean, this is, I mean,
Sure.
we argued this for how long with Puljujärvi, and
Touche.
But
where's
again,
he
I'm
playing
saying,
now? I mean,
circling this
I'd love to see, because it was, what a waste of a pick if he doesn't turn out. But I'm in the camp now of get what you can for Broberg. If he, just like Puljujärvi, if he succeeds someplace else, well, yeah, I mean, fine. But
Puljujärvi got
let's
an
not wait.
opportunity though. Like Broberg
That's the
hasn't
thing.
got a
He
freaking
got a lot of
chance.
runway there, especially on the top line. Broberg hasn't had that opportunity yet.
Exactly. And that's why I'd rather hold on to him, because this circles back to, would you rather win the cup this year or next year? And I
Okay,
think if
so
you want to win the cup next year, you need 8 solid D in there. In which case,
Jay says no time to wait. Trade for someone for right now. We're talking,
okay, that's
yeah. So
yeah.
we're
So
in.
he's saying
but
he's
trading
put his
Broberg,
$500,000 on this year.
trading Broberg's not a cup winning move. It is a changing Broberg out and hoping you get something in return type of move. It's not going to move the needle a ton. In fact, I would be surprised if whatever comes out of this whole Broberg thing is the difference maker in whether or not the Oilers win the cup.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at that. And if one way is if it's just Broberg, money in, money out, and we're going to go get ourselves just another Ben Gleason that's out there, so be it, right? And I get the understanding, at least you're filling a need on the team, right? Like maybe Broberg being a offensive defenseman that's a scatterbrain defensively isn't exactly like we got a lot of those in the cupboard already. Going back, Jay said earlier in the chat too, what about trading for Barry? Yeah, like not at that salary, no, but Barry's exactly the same thing of what we already have, like guys that are great in the offensive end. Like we need
We don't
another,
need Barry.
no, we need another, that shutdown D that is a journeyman that makes $1 million, $1.2 million, whatever.
Who is that guy? That guy doesn't.
I don't know,
exist.
dude.
That
I don't
guy
know, but
they're
you can
trying to do.
find that in
That
the
guy.
offseason.
That guy exists at the deadline, I think.
Right.
Like, I think that guy exists at the deadline. So back
Right.
to waiting until the deadline. Sometimes guys will, teams that aren't in it will trade for what they might think if they're high on Broberg.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's
But
the guy Stauffer
we're
had
not
out there,
nobody's
Kurt?
going to be high on Broberg because we're not going to play him. Not unless if we have to.
Who's the 5'8", 5'9" defenseman that Stauffer was throwing around? What's his name again?
Jeez,
I can't remember.
Right? Like, there's rumors we do this. So we like trade for a 30-year-old defenseman that's 5'8", that's got more goals than Nuge this year because he's just in a certain situation, and give up on the youth of Broberg. Like, I don't know. Like, that deal might be out there. Do you want a guy that is doing pretty well this year, contributing pretty well this year for the same amount of money?
We don't need
that
offense.
improves our defense. What's that, Michael?
We don't need offense. Is that what you're saying? Like an offense?
Yeah, we need somebody. Well, sure. Yeah, maybe that's, but we need somebody to come in and be a bit better than Ben Gleason. Like, we need somebody to be Kulak, but at $1 million.
I thought Gleason was okay in the preseason and whatnot, but
I think he should
he's
have been
putting
up
up
for those
decent
games
numbers in
instead
the
of Broberg.
A.
Yeah.
He's putting up decent
we've
numbers
not
on the
seen
farm.
him. I mean, just like we haven't seen Broberg, we haven't seen Gleason.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that they've stuck with Desharnais as long as they have, and they haven't put one of either Gleason or Broberg in there.
He has been good though. Like, since the coaching change there, Vinny's been solid on the PK. He's been okay at 5-on-5, so you can get away with that for the time being.
He's got that rare element too, right? Like,
he's got a bit
intimidate
of
people, and like, he's amazing on the PK. Actually, like, he's such a big body.
Yeah, and he's been
long
dropping the
wingspan.
gloves a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's the guy you want to take 5 minutes in the box as your sixth defenseman, not Nurse and not Kane.
Yep.
You're not going to, though, make, like, you either, if you're going to get a D-man, right? Like, it's Desharnais or Kulak you're replacing. Right?
Which I like. A part of me is,
am I wrong?
The Kulak thing is logic.
Is PC on there? Because you're not replacing Bouchard, Ekholm, or Nurse, right?
No.
I don't think you can get a better defenseman than CC for what CC gets. The problem is he just shouldn't be on a top pairing.
He has been good this year. I hate to admit it. For the most part.
I agree.
Yeah, I hear you.
But do you win a Stanley Cup with CC as your top pairing defenseman? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not.
Yeah.
It'd be a great two, or second pairing.
Well, I ask you is, do you think that Tampa could win another cup?
No.
I mean,
they'd have to go on one hell of a run there. Like they
would.
Vasilevsky would have to go supernova, like once again, like he always
and
is.
He's hurt this year. It's just been up and down. So, hey, I said earlier, you can look at this Broberg thing two different ways, right? I said you can go money in or money out. And I appreciate Michael Summerfield's comment here because he actually reminded me that there's something else to this conversation. And you can look at Broberg the other way, which is what he just suggested, package Broberg to dump Campbell's contract. So now is that lane out there where we can, and like I said earlier in the show, we're going to need to get rid of Campbell if we're going to improve our.
Well, that's why I figured Broberg was on the block.
Well, sure.
Right?
So what about
he
Broberg?
Makes the most sense in that instance, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But is a deal out there somewhere? Broberg, our first, Bourgault, Campbell with some retained for maybe you throw in something else. I don't know, but like for a top pairing-ish defenseman or a
do you not
better
need
goaltender somehow? Like
you need at least a better backup, right? If you get rid of Campbell, you need at least a better backup.
Trading for Martin is just swapping deck chairs with Pickard at this point.
So is Merzlikins.
Wow.
You were arguing about that before we went on air.
Yeah. I mean, I just like
what do you like about
Merzlikins has had maybe some stretches of bad, but then he's also had some stretches where he's stolen games. And
here we go.
I'll just cut in here just before you guys bicker with each other there once again. Like I said in the chat, when Elvis Merzlikins is on, he's literally a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like he's a lot like Skinner in a lot of ways. I hate to admit it. Just smaller, he's more mobile than Skinner. He is very athletic. He his his edge work is very iffy. Like he's when he goes on an adventure, he goes on an adventure. He goes literally right to the corner if he wanted to. Like when he pushes off on his edges. But when, like I said, when he's on, and he's very streaky when he is on, look out. Like
Yeah.
you're good for good 4 or 5 games. Ride it out and then stick Skinner back in and go back and forth. That's what a tandem does. If you're feeling it, go for it and let it, just let it ride. Push your chips in, as Dash was saying, kind of sort of. Let it ride with one guy. And then when the run is done, stick Skinner back in, back and forth, like a typical tandem.
And look at Merzlikins the last 5 games, and tell me you'd get the same out of Picard or Martin. 5 games, only 1 game he had 30 shots against. The rest of them all 40 shot games. 974, 930, 900, 953, and
That
1 at
doesn't-
897.
That
This is
doesn't
a guy
matter.
that can stand on his head.
More shots doesn't matter. Go look at Skinner's game log.
No,
Every
we're not
single
talking
time
about Skinner, though. We're talking about whether you want Martin or
I'm
Picard.
aware, but I'm going to make a point out of it.
Right?
Go and
Like,
look at. I'm going to
yeah.
go and I'm going to make a
So
point
you
out of
would
it.
rather Martin?
No, this has
No.
nothing to do with that. Listen,
Well, you were
If-
talking about, though, like you're changing the subject here. We're talking
No, I'm
about
not.
what you're going to do for Campbell and maybe Broberg and go, and upgrade on Campbell, right? And to Kirk's point, like going after a guy like Martin on the Blue Jackets it's shuffling deck chairs. You got
Agreed.
that already.
Yeah.
We're not. Nobody
and I'm
said we're
saying
like.
so is
Nobody said that
Merzlikins.
Merzlikins is going to take us to the Cup. Like if
No.
that's what you think we're saying, then you're not listening. We're not
Why are you
saying
saying
that.
we? Kirk
Well,
didn't say
'cause-
anything about this. Don't drag
No,
him
but
into your mud.
You asked, like, why are you guys so high on Merzlikins, right? And we're not saying that this is the guy that's going to take us to the Cup. We're saying this is an upgrade on what we have today.
I don't think it is, though.
Okay.
No,
Then,
Merzlikins
then
isn't
why
an
are you
upgrade on
bringing
Campbell or Skinner.
in?
Let me make
We're
my
not
point.
talking Skinner right now. We're talking Campbell and Picard, who are
Okay.
the options at backup. And you don't think Merzlikins is an upgrade on those two?
He's not an upgrade on Campbell, no.
Oh, for sure he is.
No, he's not.
A slight upgrade. I would rather have Merzlikins right now
Yeah.
than Campbell.
Thank you.
Slight.
At 3.4, so more money.
Nobody's saying he's going to win the Cup.
5.4, yeah.
Right? Nobody's
Ask
gonna
Columbus
say
to
he's
eat
gonna win.
$400K and then say, hey, we'll throw in Broberg and another pick, whatever. And I don't know. I don't think that would be enough to get to poach their best goalie there from Columbus, but
Well, then
I
you're
don't know.
wasting. Like, if you got to give up a pick and Broberg just to swap deck chairs, that's asinine.
So
I'm
what
telling you,
what's your what do you
Look at their career
suggest?
stats.
What's your thoughts? Give us
Merzlikins and
something,
Campbell
give us
have the
something.
same.
Give us
If you'd shut
something
up,
though. So
Will.
no Merzlikins, no Martin. Like you shut up and tell us what your solution is.
I already did. I told you last week I wouldn't trade for a goalie.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm
Well,
telling you,
brought it
Merzlikins
up,
isn't
the
an
whole
upgrade. That's the
package
argument I'm
Broberg
making.
to dump
And Merzlikins
Campbell's
isn't an
contract.
upgrade. He's got the same career statistics as Jack Campbell, if not
Okay.
worse. He's been on a
So
few
what's
heaters.
your
So
maybe the Oilers don't need to make a change then?
I've told you that.
No, anywhere. Like because you haven't given us. You're saying they need to make a defensive change.
I
But
already
you haven't
said
given
go and
us
package all those
any
guys and
idea.
try and get a top pairing defenseman or a top D man. You can't go and trade for a goalie right now. Nor
Who are you
should you
getting?
trade Merzlikins for Campbell. They're the same
Who is
freaking
that top
guy.
pair and D
They're
man
both
that
a
you keep
roller
talking about?
coaster. They're both good when their team's playing good. They're both shitty when their team's playing like that
All
in
right.
front of them.
Okay. Good. Like
So
who's the
when
guy?
Columbus was good and the defense in front of them was playing good, Merzlikins had good stats. So
Good.
did Campbell in Toronto for a stretch. So did Campbell in Edmonton for a stretch. So did Campbell in the playoffs last year.
All good, Dash. But you're saying Broberg and Campbell for a top pairing D man. Who's
I also
who's
said-
ridiculous
I
enough
also
to make
said
that trade?
Borgo. I also said a first round pick. And I also said they'd have to give up something else if you were listening.
Broberg, Campbell, a first round pick, Borgo for a top pairing D man.
in around that range. Yeah. I said you also might have to give something else up or retain something. Yes, I do think that. They did it for Ekholm last year, so don't think it's impossible.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying
Well,
it's
there you go. So thank you. It's not impossible, which means there's a chance out there. Trading for a goalie is impossible.
Is it?
And if you're going to do it, it
I
doesn't make
mean,
sense.
If we,
Even
I guess,
Campbell
if we
for
threw
Merzlikins
everything in
doesn't
there
make
too, we
sense.
might be able to get a goalie too.
So what you're saying
Why?
there, Dash, is that all the scouts there in Columbus last week weren't looking at Merzlikins. They were looking at Zach Werenski.
Hopefully.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, you got everybody fooled there, Dash. I mean, it's not
The only thing that
it's
makes
not-
sense to me, there isn't a goaltending trade that makes sense. Why do you take on more money with Merzlikins? He's just as streaky when
Well, yeah. Obviously, you hope that through the course of the trade, you're not taking on more money because you you can't. The Oilers don't have the cap space to take on more money.
Right.
So don't look at the contract because they'll have to make it work. The Oilers can't take on any more money. Whatever they do has to be across the board, pretty much even. So
Right.
you're not taking like Merzlikins gets paid more, but you can't take on more money to take Merzlikins. You're just getting him for what you have. And then the question is he better than what we've got? And the answer in my mind is, yeah, he's better than what we got today. Like
take 500
He's not
goalies that
gonna-
have played in the NHL in the last few years, and those guys would be ranked 250th and 253rd. Who cares?
yeah,
Why are you going to disrupt
mean-
your organization, give up any asset whatsoever to get a mid for mid? The guys like Campbell.
Do they? Like, are they? Is that why they're
I
playing
hope
so
so.
well
They-
right now? Is that why they're
they
playing
called
so
him
well
in.
right now? Because they love Campbell.
Well,
Like that's what
McDavid and Hyman
burn
and
on
their
the-
wives
they
don't
don't
clamor
give
for
a-
him to come over if they
They
don't like him.
give rats.
Well, then why did Hyman and McDavid tell Holland to get him?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, but they don't care right now. Like they're on a streak. Like they could care if Campbell's there right now. Like this whole they like Yamamoto, but he's gone.
Just saying, why would you trade him?
Like we
away
might as well
for
get
the
Ryan
exact same
Jones back
thing
in
in
the lineup. I
Merzlikins
love
when
that guy too.
we already have it?
Right? Like they don't care
Potential of
about that.
upsetting your stars. Like, what if they don't like Merzlikins?
Well,
I don't know, man. There's
anybody.
The
What if they don't
professionals,
like
they get
Werenski?
paid a lot of money to play
my
hockey.
point. I know, but my point is there isn't a trade out there for a goalie, and I
Yeah.
think they're crazy if they do. Bottom line.
Like I said in the chat there before, I still think our number one option is on the farm right now. It's not Campbell.
Richard.
And I hate to say it, he won't get a chance
No.
unless if there's injuries because he has 0 NHL experience.
Yep.
And he's number 2 right now on all of the AHL with save percentage. The number 1 guy we
Got
should have
better numbers-
drafted. But
Better
anyways,
numbers
that's
than
hindsight.
Campbell down there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah. I mean, here's.
But they like Echo more.
Do they? Do they? We don't know. Ekholm likes Edmonton. That's what I like. For those of you listening in on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, comment in the chat says the guys also like Barry. All right. I mean, let's move on. I mean,
Vibe Daddy.
Look,
was
here's-
his nickname.
here's the thing is, and there's not going to be many goalies out there. You're 100% right that are going to move the needle enough. Do I think though that in the current situation the Oilers have enough to win the cup? No, I just don't feel that way. Like I don't feel like. I mean, that's my gut telling me, but whatever, we'll figure it out. I mean, the Oilers got, at least they've got a trade chip in Broberg. They've got a couple of prospects that they could do. And Dash, you're right about the, like, what's the,
Like that.
what year is it? Is it, do you go after it this year or do you go after it next year? You
Yeah.
can't answer that question today because we're just worried about making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. And so until we have some sense of whether the Oilers are in the playoffs or not, there's nothing. Now, The question, though, is can the Oilers do something meaningful today that can get them into the playoffs? That's what they need to look at, right? Like, I wouldn't even be, if I'm not Ken Holland, if I'm Jackson,
Whoever's pulling strings over
whoever's
there.
pulling the strings, I'm not thinking about Stanley Cup right now. We're talking Stanley Cup. That's not even remotely on my mind. I am thinking about what can I do that can make this team just a little bit better to get to the playoffs. And then just hope that, to your point, Dash, Skinner catches lightning in a bottle, or something happens that this team is, and, I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. This is the same team everybody said was going to win the Stanley Cup or was a favorite to win. I think that's what we've seen over the past few games, right? We've seen that. We've seen, obviously some injuries have played a part.
Their best game of the year, bar none, was versus Winnipeg. It was tight checking, full 60, and they never wavered when Winnipeg scored on that power play. And ironically, that was their only power play goal that they've let, or shorthanded goal that they let in since the change, if I'm not mistaken, or it's damn close to it anyways in the last stretch. That's the only goal that they've let in shorthanded. And that's a definite springboard. That's something to build on. You're looking forward there to tonight versus Carolina. They're kind of limping in because they lost to Winnipeg. So yeah,
Let's talk. We don't have a full hour and a half tonight. We've got another 20 minutes roughly, give or take. Let's talk about tonight's game, right? Let's talk about the Oilers' schedule. They're on the first game of a 6-game homestand, 9 games before the Christmas break. They're coming off of does anybody know why they had this long break? Was it so Connor and Lauren could go do the Walk of Fame, or what was the what was the deal here? But anyway, they're coming in after a long break. 6 games homestand. Dash, we talked a little bit about it. What do they need to do here? Do they need to run the table in order to get to the playoffs?
Pretty close.
Do they need to go 4-2? Is 500 good enough?
Pardon me. How many is it in a row at home? Is it 6?
6.
Okay.
9 before the break. And they're on an eastern road swing.
Yeah, 4 out of 6 is the minimum. That's 8 points, and they're 8 points out of a wild card spot right now. Now I know they can't climb 8 points, but it puts them back in. They've got games in hand because of this break as well. So, there's a point in time a few games ago, they were only 3 points out of that wild card spot. So, if you come in, like you said, maybe 4 or 5 out of 6, which I think is doable. But my fear is that these guys almost never come out of breaks well. They don't come out of all-star breaks well. They didn't come off of the layoffs last year well. I just think that this is a very telltale game because they got a stiff opponent, not maybe one of the league's best, but somebody that's stiff and hungry and willing to hit them hard in the mouth, that is pissed off coming off a loss to the Jets. And Edmonton's been sitting there for 6 days. So hopefully Connor's thinking about hockey and not Lauren's dress, and right, like they're constant coming in and they can come out hard. So they had 6 days to practice, work on systems, work on the PK, get Knobloch running things his way. That's a lot of time for a coach to tinker. Apparently they've been playing games after practice recently. So I would say that's a sign that they've figured it out or they've got there. I already like how much he's limited the cross-seam passes, the odd man rushes, whether that's Knobloch or Stewie or I don't know if it's coffee, but whatever. It's working. So let's see a lot of that. And if we can see that against Carolina, I think the rest of the road trip goes just fine, right? Like we had a 4-game winning streak. We make it 5. We put up a a good game against a good team. That's the confidence we need to go and roll the next 5 games. If we get slapped in the mouth and come out of this one whimpering, I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah. Well, I'm worried as it is. Right? I mean,
More worried.
Yeah. More worried is maybe. I mean, the Oilers, like, despite being on this tear of 4 in a row, we're still sitting in what, 20 or 30th in the league.
The last thing they needed was this break. They needed to keep that momentum and keep the consistency going and not be talking about Broberg on day 5.
Yeah. I mean, even if you go by win percentage, they're still sitting in 26th. Crazy. I mean, like that. Yeah. So they go 4-2. They're still a game under 500.
Mm-hmm.
Fake 500 at that.
Fake,
right?
Edmonton 500.
Yeah. Kirk, what's your thought? I mean, do they is 4-2 enough?
In my own mind, I think if they hit 500 by Christmas, they'll breathe a sigh of relief. They're like, okay, we're okay. They do have a rough Eastern road trip there to cap it off, but I think the most important part is they just play consistency. It's been the buzzword for this season so far.
They've dug a hole. They can't dig a deeper hole, right? 4-2 allows them to stay at least at the level they're at and not get deeper.
Yeah, just play consistent.
I'd love to know more about
Skinner to play a consistent game like he did there in Winnipeg, and then in Washington. That was their other marquee game that stuck out for me, to pull him out of that hole where
that kicked off this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kirk, you're a goalie guy. Tell me this. I remember seeing statistics on Campbell when he played in Toronto about how he had a really high swing on games where he was getting a lot of shots. He had more success, right? So it was like kind of out there that Campbell does better when his head's in the game and he's consistent and he's getting a lot of shots. And I think that was something I heard because it was something the Oilers took into account, given how they're built to outscore their mistakes. And it's going to be a lot of action on their goalie no matter what. Campbell's a good stick for that. Go and look at Skinner's game log. The games that he has the best save percentage, he's got, there's a few blips in there, don't get me wrong, but there's starting to become a linear consistency on Skinner that the more shots he gets, the better he is. Have you seen
he
any
admitted
of that?
that? He totally admitted that on it was, I don't know if it was this year or last year. I do believe it was last year. And he had a bevy of shots there one game, and I might even been Spec. I don't know. I'm cringing at the thought of Spec asking an intelligent question. But anyway,
we bumped him for you today.
Oh, thanks.
Right.
Appreciate it, boys. But yeah, no, he quoted there, like, he's like, yeah, he said sometimes when I don't get a lot of shots, that's where, you get cold, you don't stay loose, and then the wheels fall off.
Well, just ask Ben Scrivens how it works.
Oh.
Right?
I was at that game. That was fun.
Yeah. And same thing with LB. I think LB's first game, like he lost versus San Jose, but it was like 50 or 52 there or something like that. It was something crazy. And he still lost, but he said after the game, he said, I've never had so much fun in all my life. Like, just because it was action. Like, he was constantly busy and he loved it.
I think one thing sort of pushes another, though, and this, Dash, you always talk about the team play. I mean, this is, I always think guys are more likely to let a shot through when they've got a little bit more confidence in the goalie.
Oh, for sure.
And you're playing on D, and it changes everything, right? If you're not confident in the goalie, you're trying to make sure that no shot gets through.
And vice versa. If a goalie doesn't trust his defenseman, he's going to cheat because he doesn't trust that the cross-ice pass is going to get taken away.
Well, they're all average anyway, so really.
They are. You're right. Other than about 10 of them.
I'm not going to.
We're not going there. We're not going there.
We're not
Listen to
going there.
Skinner's game log.
We're not
Listen
going
to Skinner's
in there.
game log. Okay,
but
so last game he had 26 shots. He had a 9.62. There's another game, 25 shots. He had a shutout. 35 shots. He had a 9.14. 33 shots. He had a 970. So here's a blip, 36 shots. He had an 833. Next highest one is 32 shots, which is a 906. The next one's a 27 shots, which was a 923. But then you go and look at his real crappy games. Well, that one doesn't count. He didn't start.
I mean,
We only saw, low 20s when he had a 783, 18 shots, and he had a 833. Right? Like, I don't know. There's 16 shots to begin the year, and he had a 750. Both games actually against Vancouver. He shot 16 shots and had a 750, letting 4 of 12 or 4 of 16.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is he that guy that he needs action?
It all depends on how you warm up there too, how the day is. Everybody's talking about, oh, you need the best of the best. No, you need to make more and more save than the other guy. That's the end of it all.
Yeah, that's grand fear.
Goaltenders are human too. You're gonna have a bad game. You're gonna throw up a goose egg, just a stinker of a game once in a while. But it also depends on who's playing in front of them. If your defensemen are on, and that's the other thing there too, the defense has been cleaning up house and clearing lanes. And I think Skinner, you need that half second more to see what's coming at you. And it goes back to that last game versus Winnipeg. He didn't have a clear sight. It was a heck of a screen. I don't know if I can't remember the play exactly, but no chance on the tip anyways by Perfetti. But anyways, if you the guys have been doing great, just cleaning up the cross seam passes there through the home plate.
Boys, when was the last time in the last 5 or 6 games that you saw somebody just standing wide open in the crease?
Not a lot of slot shots lately.
And that was every game
which
in
is
the first
nice.
half.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, well said, Kirk. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's a team effort, literally.
And Kirk, as a result of all of that, do you not think that the goaltending statistics and their performance will just improve as the defense and system plays better in front of them?
Well, that's a ridiculous comment because it's true. That's true.
Do you want me to tee one up there for you there for just to go off on Michael again or what? That's low hanging fruit there, bud.
I mean, the real question is,
if our team plays properly, we have the right goalie. If we're going to win a Stanley Cup this year, it's going to be with Stuart Skinner.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
I mean, wait, I don't know if we got much choice. We don't have much.
Well, that's part of it. To the that's part of it, buddy. Yeah.
We don't have much choice. Do I think Skinner's the right guy? No.
I think he's capable. Kirk, is he capable? Team plays well in front
there
of him.
you go. You got your answer. He doesn't want to answer.
Don't put words in his mouth.
I didn't need to.
He's thinking. Let the man think.
You asked him.
Let the man think.
My wish, fellas, is just to get to the dance. I don't care how you do it. Whether you got to lie, cheat, steal goals from the other teams.
Don't skirt the question to try to avoid getting pissed off by the boss. Kirk.
I'm trying to see the big picture here. Big picture.
Win us a cup.
Bob, there you go. Bob the
big
goalie
picture.
thinks Skinner is capable.
Thank you.
Bob the goalie.
There you go.
Kirk, is Skinner capable of winning us a cup if the team plays right in front of him?
Yes.
Thank you. We don't need a new goalie, Michael. Go call up Josh. Tell him to get on here. You need some backup.
Yeah. Well,
we all know Josh doesn't watch hockey anyways.
So. Is Skinner capable? Was he capable last year?
Yeah.
I think once again,
is it his fault that 90 seconds the team fell apart?
Yeah. Thanks, some stranger. Doesn't have that much faith in Skinner.
Well, the fact that it's up for debate means it's worth talking about, right?
Yeah, no, it's worth talking
certainly
about.
Have.
It's good. we have had our opportunities. Oh man, 9 minutes left, and just let everybody know. Stick around if you're listening on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Stick around because the guys are going to be doing the pregame show. You are currently listening to the pregame
unofficial pre-game show, but we'll take it. Yeah, Tommy's up in 9 minutes. We'll see what he has to say.
9 minutes.
Josh, hello. How you doing?
And
he said his name and he appeared. How did that work? Wow.
So if you want to check us out, go to youtube.com/heavy hockey. You can give us a like and a subscribe there. Check out all the articles at heavyhockey.com. In fact, Mr. Ryan Lotzberg put out an article. I know you're surprised that Ryan wrote something for the site, but he put out a little article about Broberg and what he thinks are maybe some of the opportunities around the league. A pretty good article. And I think Eric Friesen just wrote one about Jeff Jackson while we were on air, I might add. He finished it up, so I'm sure he was listening at the same time while he was finishing that.
Of course he was.
Good old Eric Friesen, senior writer for heavyhockey.com. All right, 4 and 2, I think we kind of is the minimum. I'd be worried if by Christmas we're not a game or 2 games over 500. That's 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in order to be
we can't dig it
500, we'd have to go 6 and 3.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
That gets us to 500 by the break.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and
that's what I mean. You
what?
can't go 3 and 3 in this, or else you've dug yourself a deeper hole, and now you got to win out.
Yeah. So that's what you're aiming for, I think, at a minimum. Anything less than that, and then let's start doing prospect shows.
Right. Well, tonight, I'll start talking about the lottery. So I gave my opinion on tonight. I think it's going to be a statement game. I'm not confident on what we'll see. I hope it's the confident momentum riding 4-game winning streak Oilers that'll come out and slap them in the face. What do you guys think? I don't think I heard you guys say what you think will happen tonight.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that first, Kirk, if you want to respond after me.
Sure.
The way I look at it is if there was a team I wanted to face after a big break like this, it would be the team that just came out and kicked my ass in the first period. And that's Carolina. Come out last game, they beat us in the first period. And so, this is kind of if I'm Knobloch or whoever, that's all I'm focused on.
Yeah.
Right? Is remember last time we played these guys and we were staring down a 4-0 game at the end of the first period. Let's not do that. And then the team's got, if they can just do that for one period, they're in it, right? They can get their legs in the second and third, and then I'm fine. And so to that point, I think this game will be much like the first game they played. It'll be won or lost in the first period. And if the Oilers can, at least stick around, be down only by 1 or be up, then I think they're golden. But, we'll wait and see. Your thoughts, Kirk?
I got to kind of take a look at the big picture again, but I do agree with you, Michael. I think that sour taste in the mouth there of the losing, basically that one period versus Carolina there at their home on that road trip. That was just icing on the cake, and I thought they played better after that first period. The big picture, though, the next 3 games are the telltale. Not just this game, the next 3. Because right after this game, you got a team with a dead cat bounce head your way.
Yeah.
And then after that, you've got another stingy team in New Jersey that might be in the same boat as you are. They're just trying to claw and scratch, try to get out of their hole. Same thing. But I have faith. I have faith because once again, it's not even the full game tonight. It's the first 10 to 15 minutes will be the telltale. And I hope they come out guns a-blazing because they have to take that bull by the horns. When they have a good start like that, generally speaking, like they'll do good. I believe in them. They'll do good tonight. They better do good. I have faith. I have faith.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for error, right? Yeah. What about you, Dash?
I think you're muted there, bud.
Yeah, brilliant though. I might add. What's that? It's the best thing you've said all night.
Heard that before.
All right. I had to take it while I had the chance. Go for it. What's your thoughts?
I lost my train of thought. I don't know.
What's your thoughts on tonight's game?
No, I just said that, if they lose tonight, then that means they got to win 5 out of the next 6. Or 4 out of the next 5.
Yeah.
Right. And so just that's what makes tonight, I think, so important. Just like they get that statement, keep the confidence going, 5-game winning streak. Right. Now I think the next 2 opponents are pretty beatable. Chicago for sure. Right. Like maybe you come into trouble versus one of the Florida teams, and you'd expect that when it's Florida and Tampa. But I don't know. You got to beat Carolina, I think, to get that all done.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not an easy stretch either, right? Like these are not, there's no gimmies. I'm looking forward to seeing Bedard and McDavid go head to head. That'll be fun. Minnesota, yeah, I mean, Kirk, you're 100%. Like where are they at? I think it's far enough out of the, as we say, the dead cat bounce that it's a winnable game for sure, and it is winnable. I mean, the Oilers are good. Yeah. I have no idea. Always taking pictures. This is recorded and on YouTube. All right, guys, we're down to the wire. Just want to say we are in the final stages of preparing for the Heavy Hockey Showdown in support of the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton, which will be on February 25th is the hockey game. February 24th is the Battle of Alberta. We're going to have a little pregame party, silent auction, a little bit of fundraising. Venue is TBD right now. And then some of us will be going to the game, the Oilers Battle of Alberta game. Some will stay behind, and then the next day we'll play some hockey. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to raise a lot of money for the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. They need it. Large wait lists there right now. So a good cause for sure. So watch for that. You can go to heavyhockey.com/heavyhockeyshowdown. Pretty easy to find that. And when the registration is up, we'll let you know on one of our shows. Outside of that, Oilers play tonight at 7:30. Coming up right after this is Tom Gazzola and the gang for the pregame show. Kirk, want to say thank you for joining us on the pregame show.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Dash, you got 20 seconds. Any last words?
Thanks for having me. Go Oilers. Good night.
All right. I think that's brilliant. All right, guys. We'll see you here next week, 5:00, heavyhockey.com. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.
Devin, Bruce, and the rest of the fantasy hockey hacks right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Mountain, or tune in at youtube.ca/heavyhockey and make sure